Good evening, small groups. How are you today? How is your week going? Is this the highlight of your week? It's definitely one of the highlights for me and Louise. We love being a part of our small group. It's awesome, isn't it? Can I get a holler? Woo! Shout out to Caleb and Jude right there, legends that are. Tonight we are continuing in our Vision small group sessions. This is part 3. And this is all about the church tonight. We're talking about the church. Last week, we really focused on the centrality of Jesus, how Jesus has to be the priority, how Jesus is the founding block, he's the cornerstone, he's the capstone. There is no vision other than Jesus. It's just Jesus, and every vision is subservient to our vision of Jesus. Well, tonight, we're talking about the irresistible church because that's the heart. We want to build an irresistible church. Now, what does that mean? On Sunday at Poole campus, I spoke a little bit about this because when we think about building an irresistible church, we immediately go to attractional church, a church that will attract people. And my provocation on Sunday was just this, is what if actually it's less about building a church that is attractional to the people, but what if it's about building an attractional church that is attractional to heaven, a church that is irresistible to heaven, a church that God cannot but bless and pour his favor on. And so on Sunday, really, I tried to just cast a vision for that. What does it look like to be a church that is irresistible to the presence of God? And the big push on Sunday was all about the theme of unity. Because you don't just land at unity. You don't just arrive at unity. You don't just magically become unified. Unity is graft. Unity is work. Unity is an intentional decision. And I thought tonight it'd be really cool for us to think on the theme of unity and how we can grow in our unity. And what does it mean to be unified in mission? What does it mean to be unified in purpose? What does it mean for us to be unified in love? Because the Bible is quite clear that our greatest missional advantage, the greatest potential we have when we witness to the risen Christ is the fact that we love one another. That's how people know that we're disciples of Christ. And so really, tonight's session is all about how do we become an irresistible church. Just to take you back to the dream that God gave me a few years ago, there was nothing spectacular, like physically, about the church in the dream. It wasn't like the building was super smart, and it wasn't like the music was amazing, and it wasn't like the preaching was top notch, and it wasn't like there was Costa coffee and like Krispy Kreme donuts and like, you know, craziness happening. And I don't think God was saying, I don't want any of that stuff. It was just about the heart of the people. What was it that drew the heart of the people? It was primarily a passion for Jesus, but it was also that commitment to unity, a commitment to stand with one another, to worship with one another. And actually, as we prioritize being irresistible to God and heaven, then the byproduct of that is we become irresistible to people. So let me just offer you this thought, is if you are irresistible to people, there's no guarantee you get God, okay? But if you are irresistible to God, you're guaranteed to get people. People are drawn to the presence of God. People are drawn to the power of God. People are drawn to the manifestation of God. People aren't put off those things. These things speak to the reality that God is at work in a dark and dying world. And when a church really lives in the fullness of his presence, empowered by his Spirit, let me tell you, a church like that is so irresistible. And I think at times at Sunny Hill, we've had moments where we've touched that. But I just think going forwards that God is calling us to live there. So we're going to look at some verses tonight, ask some questions tonight, really in the bid to provoke us, not just to greater understanding, but to greater determination and greater commitment to actually get there. So church, what we're building? An irresistible church to God, and then secondarily, people. Have a blessed evening. I'm going to hand over to your small group leaders and hosts, and I'm sure you're going to have a great time. Come with your thoughts, observations, ask your questions. You know, small group leaders aren't guaranteed to know the answer, but it's actually together when we all talk and dialogue that actually we uncover treasure. It's amazing how that happens. Someone says something and it sparks something over here, and that sparks something over there. And before you know it, you're experiencing the mind of Christ because a spotlight A spotlight, kind of like, no, not working. A spotlight, just broke that. A spotlight is being shone on different areas, and it just encourages and enthuses us in our walk with God. So speak up tonight, be heard, be blessed, have an awesome evening. See ya!